Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going on an adventure and we're going to cook some monkfish with a little pea puree. To start this dish, I have a little pot of water simmering on the stove. We're going to add in about a teaspoon of kosher salt and 6 cloves of garlic. We just want to cook some of that harshness of the garlic. We're going to bring this up to a boil before adding in 2.5 cups of frozen peas. We're going to let that cook for an additional 2 to 3 minutes just so those peas are heated through and they're nice and tender before we drain all of the water out of this and deposit our peas and our garlic into the pitcher of a blender or food processor. We're also going to add in 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I've just cubed these, and this is at room temperature because I want this to melt very quickly. And we're going to start pureeing this down. That butter is going to lighten this color up a little bit, but you're still going to get this beautiful, vibrant green. Now with the motor running, we're going to add in 1/4 cup of heavy cream. And this is really going to get that moving. After we get a nice, beautiful, smooth puree, we're going to deposit this into a little deli container. And we want to season with some salt and pepper. I'm using about a teaspoon of kosher salt and about 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Going in and mixing this very well because I want that seasoning to run throughout this pea puree. And you also want to give this a little taste and adjust the seasoning as needed. Now this is ready. I'm going to pop a lid on this and set this aside. This is monkfish. I've never used it before. You can see this piece is much bigger. I have about 12 ounces in total here. So I'm going to cut this in half. This is a very firm, meaty fish. It's called the poor man's lobster for a reason. It has that lobster-like texture. So just cutting this in half as well. And we're going to season this liberally with salt and pepper. And you want to hit all sides of your fish. And once we've seasoned this, we can let this rest and let seasoning absorb while we prep the rest of our ingredients. We're going to need 4 stems of thyme, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 2 cloves of garlic, just give those a little smash. We're going to use that for basting. Now for our herb butter, we have some chives, some parsley, and some tarragon. And we only need about a teaspoon of each of these herbs. So just cutting off that root end and the dry top part, cutting this in half, and then just chopping this up into a nice fine mince. For the tarragon, I'm just going to pull the leaves off the stem. Give this a nice little choppity chop as well. And last but not least, our parsley. On the stove right now, I have a nonstick skillet heating up over medium heat. Because once our herbs are chopped, we're ready to move over to the stove. All our meat is ready, so let's get cooking. So this heated up a little faster than I thought, so I lowered the heat a little. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and give this a little swirl. And since I have 2 pieces of fish that are a little thicker, I'm going to add those in first and give them a little time to cook. I'm going to let these cook for about a minute before I add in the smaller pieces. We're going to let this cook for an additional 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, go in and awkwardly flip your fish with these fish spatula, tongs, whatever you find easiest. We can now add our 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And we want this to melt down a little bit and get a little frothy. So I'm just going to use this spoon to run this around the hot pan and encourage this to melt a little bit more. Now we can add in our 2 cloves of smashed garlic and our 4 stems of thyme. And at this point, we want to cook our fish to 130 degrees. We do want to baste with this butter as we're going. but 130 degrees is a perfect temperature so that your fish is cooked through and you still get that nice buttery texture. Once all of our pieces have reached 130 degrees, I'm taking these out and resting them on a cooling rack. At this point, I've shut off the heat, added in all of our chopped herbs, just to infuse this butter. We can remove the garlic at this point, as well as our thyme stems. They've already flavored our butter beautifully. And now we're ready to start portioning our fish. You could definitely serve this whole. I've let this rest for about 5 minutes, but I'm going to cut this into medallions, and this looks beautifully cooked. To plate, we're going to layer a large dollop of our pea puree onto our plate. Try to be fancy and give a little swoop. I failed, but it's the effort that counts. Then we're going to layer on our medallions of monkfish. And you can serve as many or as few pieces as you would like for this. Then we're going to clean our plate for presentation as well, because you do eat with your eyes first. Then we are going to grab our herb butter, drizzle this on top. This is nice and beautiful and nutty and brown now, and you have that beautiful infusion of all those beautiful aromatics in there. And I actually picked up some pea shoots because I want to bring it back to the pea puree. So I'm just going to use these as a little garnish on top. And I think this looks lovely. Now let's go ahead and give this a taste. The pea puree just tastes of pea. You get a hint of garlic. It's super silky. It's so fresh. This monkfish is absolutely delicious. I've never had this before. I've never cooked it. I can see why it's called the poor man's lobster. It's a very firm fish. It's just succulent and tasty. The herb butter adds just this nuttiness and the freshness from all of those herbs. I will definitely be cooking monkfish again because it is absolutely delightful. But there it is, monkfish with pea puree. I hope you all try to make this. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like. If you loved it, subscribe and hit that notification bell because I put out new videos every Thursday. Thank you again, and until next time, happy cooking.